When I was 60 years old, a doctor closed my file. He didn't rush. He didn't soften it. He just looked at me and said, "Stage 3 pancreatic cancer." Then he paused, looked directly into my eyes, and added, "You have about 14 months." That moment doesn't feel like a memory anymore. It feels like a fracture, like my life split into two versions, before that sentence and everything after it. Today, I am 105 years old, 45 years later, still here, still walking, still breathing. But let me be honest with you, I didn't survive. I changed. And if you're watching this right now, I want to ask you something. Have you ever had a moment where everything you believed about your life just collapsed? If you have, write yes in the comments. I read them. Because what I'm about to tell you is not a story about hope. It's a story about what breaks you before anything can heal you. The first year after my diagnosis, I did everything right. At least that's what they told me. Surgery, chemotherapy, medications, strict diets, expensive juices I didn't even like. I followed every instruction, every protocol, every expert recommendation. And still, I was getting worse. I lost 34 pounds. My body felt hollow, like something inside me had already decided to leave, and the rest of me just hadn't caught up yet. I would lie awake at night, staring at the ceiling, listening to machines, footsteps, distant voices in the hallway. And I remember thinking, this is how it ends. Not loudly, not dramatically, just quietly. Have you ever felt your body slowly working against you? Like no matter what you do, it's just not enough. Because that's where I was. And then one day, a thought came to me. Not a hopeful thought, not a positive one, a brutal one. I realized I was putting premium fuel into a broken engine. Everything I was doing, all the healthy things, all the treatments, they were like polishing the outside of a machine that was already failing inside. That realization didn't inspire me. It didn't motivate me. It angered me, because it meant something simple. I hadn't actually changed anything. I was still the same person, thinking the same way, holding on to the same stress, the same habits, the same internal noise. And I started to wonder, what if the problem wasn't just the disease, but the environment I had created inside myself? That question stayed with me. It followed me into every appointment, every sleepless night, every moment I felt myself slipping. Until one day, I made a decision that terrified everyone around me. I left. I walked out of the nursing home they had placed me in, against medical advice, against my family's wishes, against everything that was considered safe. My daughter cried. My son got angry. Doctors warned me. They all said the same thing. You won't survive out there. And maybe they were right. But I remember standing outside, breathing in real air for what felt like the first time in months, and thinking, if I'm going to die, I'm not going to do it in a place that smells like other people's endings. So I went home, alone, to a house that had outlived almost everyone I loved. And that's where everything changed. Not overnight, not magically, but slowly, quietly, in a way no doctor could measure. And it didn't start with a treatment. It started in my kitchen. I wish I could tell you there was a single moment where everything changed. a lightning strike, a revelation, a miracle. There wasn't. What saved me was quieter than that, slower, stranger, harder to endure. It began with something most people overlook or dismiss after a week. Broccoli sprouts. Yes, those tiny bitter greens people sprinkle on salads to feel healthy. For me, they became a daily ritual of survival. At first I didn't trust them. How could something so small fight something so deadly? But I wasn't looking for hope anymore. I was looking for truth. And the truth was this. I had spent 60 years feeding my body convenience, processed food, sterile food, lifeless food. I wasn't nourishing myself. I was maintaining decay. So I started growing the sprouts myself. Glass jars, water, a windowsill. Every few days I would watch them grow, fragile, pale, reaching toward the light. And something about that felt familiar. Then came the part that changed everything. Not just the eating, the waiting. Every morning I would take a handful of those sprouts and crush them, not gently, deliberately, until they became a green, bitter paste, and then I would sit and wait. 40 minutes, every single day. No distractions, no shortcuts, just me, and a bowl of something that tasted like punishment. Here's the science most people never learn. Those sprouts contain a compound called sulforaphane, but it's not active until you crush them, and even then, it takes time. An enzyme, myrosinase, needs about 40 minutes to fully activate it. If you eat them too early, you get almost nothing. If you cook them too hot, you destroy it completely. So every morning I honored the process, because for the first time in my life, I understood that healing requires patience. But something else happened in those 40 minutes, something no doctor ever prescribed. I was forced to sit with myself. No noise, no escape, just memory. I thought about my first husband, the arguments that didn't matter. I thought about my second, the silence that did. I thought about every grudge I had carried like it was something valuable. And I realized something that shook me. I wasn't just sick in my body. I was stagnant in my mind. All that resentment, all those unspoken frustrations, they weren't gone. They were stored, running quietly in the background, draining energy I didn't have. You don't need a microscope to understand this part. You felt it. That tension in your chest when you think about someone. That replay of old arguments in your head. That quiet anger that never fully leaves. Now let me ask you something. Who are you still arguing with, inside your own mind? Drop it in the comments. Not for me, for yourself. Because here's what I learned the hard way. You can eat the cleanest food in the world, but if your mind is full of conflict, you're still feeding the disease. The sprouts were working on my biology, activating genes, repairing damaged DNA, reducing inflammation. That part was real. But the waiting, the silence, that was working on something deeper. I started letting things go. Not because people deserved forgiveness, some didn't, but because I deserved peace. And slowly, something shifted. Not overnight, not dramatically, but steadily. My swelling reduced, my energy returned, My scans changed. The doctors called it unexpected response, rare case, statistically improbable. They never asked about the 40 minutes. They never asked about the thoughts I stopped feeding. They only saw the outcome. But you're seeing the truth. I didn't win because I was strong. I didn't survive because I was positive. I survived because I became intentional with what I ate, with what I thought, with what I carried. And if you're still watching this, then something inside you is asking the same question I once asked. What if I've been doing everything right, but missing the one thing that actually matters? In the next part, I'm going to tell you about the moment that changed everything. Not in my kitchen, but in a hospital hallway. A conversation that made me realize I had only solved half the problem. By the second year, something unusual was happening. My body was responding. Not dramatically, not instantly, but enough that the doctors stopped speaking in certainties and started using words like interesting. And in a place like an oncology ward, interesting is the closest thing you get to hope. But here's the truth no one tells you. Even when your body starts healing, your mind doesn't automatically follow. I was still tired. Not physically, existentially. I had done the treatments, I had changed the food, I had built the discipline. And yet, there were days I sat in that hospital hallway and quietly thought, maybe this is enough. Not in despair, not dramatically, just a calm, almost peaceful surrender. That's where I met her. Her name was Dorothy. We had crossed paths decades earlier, a vague memory from a college lecture hall. But that day, she didn't look like someone in her 70s. She looked undisturbed, clear eyes, straight posture, a presence that didn't belong in a place filled with fear. She sat beside me, and we talked. Not about cancer, not about treatment, about life. After a while, I asked her the question everyone asks. What do you do? Not your job, not your routine, your secret. She smiled, not proudly, almost knowingly, and she said something that stayed with me for the rest of my life. Margaret, you're trying to heal a physical body, but you haven't addressed the field it exists in. I didn't understand, so she explained it in a way I could never forget. She said, if you look at your hand, it feels solid, but under a microscope, it's not. Go deeper, and it's not even cells, it's particles. Go deeper than that, and it's not particles anymore. It's energy. She looked at me and said, your body is not just physical, it's a field. And every thought you think is a signal moving through that field. Now you can believe that or not, but before you dismiss it, ask yourself something simple. Have you ever walked into a room and felt tension without anyone saying a word? Have you ever met someone and immediately felt calm? That's not imagination. That's your nervous system reading signals. Dorothy continued, so the real question isn't just what you eat. It's what you're generating. What kind of internal state are you living in every single day? That question hit harder than any diagnosis, because for the first time, I looked honestly at my life. And what I saw wasn't peace. It wasn't calm. It wasn't even neutral. It was conflict. Not loud conflict, not arguments, but a constant, quiet tension. I was still holding on to resentment from things that happened 20, 30, 40 years ago. People who had moved on, people who were gone. But in my mind, they were still there. I was replaying conversations, rewriting outcomes, holding on to things that no longer existed. Dorothy said, "That internal state isn't passive, it's chemical. Every thought of anger releases stress hormones. Those hormones suppress your immune system, and your immune system is the very thing trying to save your life." Let that sink in. You could be eating perfectly, sleeping correctly, following every protocol. But if your internal world is chaos, your body is fighting a war on two fronts, and it will lose. That day, in that hallway, I realized something I had never considered before. I wasn't just healing, I was still hurting myself. Not with food, not with lifestyle, but with memory. So I went home, and the next morning, during those same 40 minutes with my sprouts, I did something different. I didn't just sit, I faced it. Every person, every resentment, every unresolved moment. Not to justify it, not to fix it, just to release it. And no, it wasn't instant. It wasn't emotional. There were no tears, no dramatic breakthroughs. It was quiet, deliberate, almost mechanical. But day by day, something changed. Not just in my mind, in my body. My inflammation markers improved, my energy stabilized, my recovery accelerated. The doctors saw the data. They couldn't explain the shift, but I could. I had removed the second burden. The food gave my body the tools to heal, but letting go gave it the permission. And if you're still here with me, I want you to sit with this question. What are you still carrying that your body is paying for? You don't have to answer me, but answer it honestly. Because in the final part, I'm going to tell you the truth no one prepares you for. What happens when you actually survive? The scans came back clear. That's the moment every story is supposed to end. The music rises, the doctor smiles, the patient cries, fade to black. She beat cancer. But real life doesn't end there. That's where it begins. Because no one prepares you for what happens after survival. At first there's relief. Of course there is. You wake up, and the immediate threat is gone. Your body feels lighter. Your breath feels deeper. But then, slowly, something else takes its place. Silence. The appointments stop. The urgency fades. The people who checked on you return to their lives. And you're left alone with something you didn't expect to survive long enough to feel. Time. A lot of it. I was 60 when they told me I had 14 months. I prepared to die. I said my goodbyes in my own way. I mentally closed doors. But I didn't die. So what do you do when you've already let go of everything, and life hands it back to you? You live differently, but not always in the way people imagine. People think survival makes you grateful, happy, peaceful, fulfilled. Sometimes it does, but sometimes it makes you aware, painfully aware. You notice things others don't. The fragility of conversations, the emptiness behind routines, the way people rush through days as if they have an unlimited supply of them. And you realize they don't. I am 105 years old. I walk 2 miles every morning. I cook my own meals. I tend to my garden. From the outside, it looks like a miracle. From the inside, it feels like extension. I have outlived my friends, my husbands, people I once thought I couldn't live without. And yet, I did. That's the part no one puts in the headline. Longevity is not just a gift, it's a responsibility. And sometimes, it's a weight. There are nights when the house is so quiet, it feels louder than any hospital. No machines, no footsteps, no voices calling your name, just memory. And memory is a powerful thing. It can comfort you, or it can sit beside you like a ghost. But here's what I've come to understand. This is the price of awareness. I didn't just remove disease from my body. I removed noise from my life. I eat clean. I think clearly. I carry less. And when you carry less, you feel everything more. That includes the beauty, the sunlight in the morning, the quiet satisfaction of movement, the taste of simple food. But it also includes the absence, and you have to learn to hold both. So when people ask me for advice, I don't tell them how to live forever, because that's not the goal. I tell them this: take care of your body so it can carry you. Drink your water, move every day, feed it what it understands. Take care of your mind so it doesn't fight you. Let go of what no longer serves you. Release what you keep replaying. Stop feeding conflict. And most importantly, take care of your time. Because whether you have 14 months or 45 years, it will pass the same way, one day at a time. I still eat my sprouts every morning. I still wait those 40 minutes. Not because I'm afraid of dying, but because I've learned how I want to live. Clean, clear, unburdened. So let me ask you something, and I want you to actually answer this. If your life was extended by 45 years starting today, what would you change right now? Don't overthink it, just write it, because that answer is where your real healing begins. I'm Margaret Lane. I'm 105 years old, and I'm still here. Not as a miracle, not as a mystery, but as proof that survival is not the end of the story. It's the responsibility to write a better one.